Yo, what's up, Blooming Face? You guys got the Five Nights at Freddy's movie reaction video to 500 likes. And I said if you guys got it to 500 likes, I will react to some of the lore that will be presented in front of me today. And I'm really interested to get into this because after seeing that movie, my interest regarding around this universe went up really high.
End the torment.
Let's get into this.
19 books, 11 games, 8 whole years.
Hold on, 19 books? First of all, I didn't even know it was based on books.
Free of tragedy, jealousy, and loss, back together. Hello,
seems like I really underestimated this universe.
Theory, the show that feels like a kid revealing the class project.
Oh yeah, you guys mentioned too that he made a cameo in the movie. I didn't know that.
I haven't attempted a timeline video on this franchise since 2018. Back
wow.
in the days when Mike was the
I don't blame you. 8 games and 11 books is insane.
3 more massive games, the death and revival.
Massive games.
Exhausting trying to keep track of this whole franchise, which honestly is why I'm
Is
here
it
today.
that bad?
This point is complicated. It is full of speculation.
Hey, if he's saying it's complicated after doing all this, then it's complicated.
Current working Fnaf timeline. But just before I do, I just want to explain a couple of things. First, this timeline is massive. Seriously, it is huge.
My head is about to explode.
Of one man, William Afton. His successes, his failures, his rise to becoming co-owner
the girl father,
fall to the monsters he helped to create, only to then be reborn in a new digital form later. That's why I've decided to split this timeline into 3 main chunks.
Oh no, I gotta lock in and strap up, bro.
Post Purple Guy, basically modern FNAF. Everything that happens after the pizzeria simulator fire. And because there are lots of new big revelations,
I'm so interested, dude.
Further, I decided to dedicate 1 episode to each chunk. I originally wanted it to be 1 seamless, continuous video, but it just
so is this all not gonna be a one? Okay, so I'll probably do the next part and then do the other part another time. Probably do the first 2 in this video for sure. I don't have time to do this for an hour, sadly.
The broad strokes of the franchise. So in order to make sure that you guys know that I'm not just pulling answers out of thin air, not only am I
pulling out that ass,
popcorn or your pitchforks if you're the type to get upset when I say something controversial, and make sure that you subscribe since this is going to be a video.
I have a feeling that this fandom could be toxic too, based off the videos I saw on Twitter.
Who slowly descended into madness and along the way discovered the secret to eternal life.
This is about to be creepy.
Our story in the 1980s, or even in the 1970s,
damn,
all the way back in the 1930s.
Damn, didn't know we have to go back that far. I thought the latest would probably be 1960s.
4th highest unemployment in the nation and full of transients. People looking for work in Salt Lake, finding none, and ultimately moving on.
Oh no, the Great Depression wasn't nothing to fuck with.
People were tired and they were hungry, but as they traveled,
I remember that photo in my history class.
Spirits. A simple roadside attraction called Fredbear's Singin' Show. The ads were plastered all over town.
50-cent tickets?
Animated bear drawn in the popular
seemed like a good deal.
It immediately said that this, Fredbear's, was a place where you could bring the family. And the price, honestly, couldn't be beat. For 50 cents, you could get food and entertainment.
Oh, roughly $9 of today money. So yeah, it's pretty much a steal, like a little movie ticket.
That's $1 without food. But this was a smaller show, like the type from the Vaughn Brothers or the Robbins Brothers, where tickets would sell for just a mere 50 cents. Watching that bear do tricks on
that
stage
cheap shit.
brought a joy at a time when so much was wrong with the world. The simple show would go on for years, bringing happiness to hundreds of travelers passing through looking for a quick meal. But it left
that's good. Business was good, doing good.
Nothing else had. One little boy named Billy. That was his nickname at least, but his parents liked to call him William Afton.
I get Billy to William.
How? William was smart, without a doubt, and he had a keen mind for business, but he wasn't the most creative. How do you make a singing, dancing bear come to life? The best he could do was using rudimentary
animatronics.
Walt Disney, who throughout the 50s and 60s was pioneering the use of mascot suits throughout his theme park. The big
he went the regular mascot route.
Hands to interact with the guests, as opposed to the older models where the arms would just hang limply by their sides.
The fuck? Okay, that's weird. Like this dangling a dead ass arm.
Purple hat and bow tie. But feeling like one character wasn't enough, he added another friend, a yellow rabbit with a purple vest and matching tie, Bonnie the Bunny. Well, Fredbear was.
Ain't that what we saw in the movie also? The mascot? Oh, not the mascot. mascot, the
that
animatronic.
he had created from scratch. And I do mean scratch. William's hand-sewn costumes were rough with seams and stitches visibly showing, but it was the best they could do. And you know what? It was just enough. Bonnie and Fred
I gotta go back and look at that thing again at the end, because I haven't seen the movie since I reacted to it, so I kind of forgot how how it looked like at the end.
That he could have ended there. That could have been the end to his story. It could have been perfect had it not been for one thing. Other people saw the success of his idea and they wanted it.
Oh, you greedy ass motherfucker. Chica's Party, what?
Performing animal characters.
Oh, he ain't created Chica?
Except they did it better. William may have been the first, but obviously he wasn't the best. It hurt the
I thought Chica would have probably came on later on down the line.
They always wanted to do. Make the animals actually come to life. All of the performers in this restaurant were robots. Simple metal skeletons that were powered by battery packs, with all of them able to
so he wasn't the one that
dance on their own.
Came up with the animatronic idea.
Magic that came from the mind of a brilliant creator named Henry Emily. This
Henry Emily. Okay.
Itself. Afton admired him. He was jealous, to be sure, but he also looked upon this man with awe. Off to one side of Chica's party,
I can kind of see how you feel. You're like, damn, you took my idea, but you bring my idea to life.
That one was more of a joke for the parents, but it was the main stage that was for the kids. A rocking band of characters.
I just saw a hippo.
Southern drawl named Chica, backed by a band of other country-themed characters, including a pig with a banjo, an upbeat frog from the local swimming hole,
and a frog too.
Southern accent. Wait. A bear?
And
But bears were his animals.
Yeah.
Why not a cow or a horse? Something.
Hey,
that
he
fit
was
the
jocking him
country theme
hard.
better. Call this thing Ned Bear, a direct copy of his own Fred Bear.
Whoops, that's gonna leave him.
Was there any quirk? Back then, I would have sued.
Turned to hardened bitterness.
Oh, he was pissed.
Couple of years as families continued to choose Chica's Party World over
Damn, I know his shit must have. His business must have went downhill.
The restaurant would go bankrupt, only to get bailed out by, of course, Henry Emily. Another insult, another humiliation that William.
Bro, he is straight getting disrespected. He would never forget this.
And deny that what came next was a period of massive success and expansion. With the two franchises now merged into one, it was the best of both worlds.
Oh, okay, cool. So they merged into one, but damn, merging with your enemy?
On humans in performing suits, as well as on-stage animatronics. They decided to stick with Fredbear as the headliner, considering the yellow bear was easily identifiable as a brand.
Good idea, good idea.
This new restaurant would also see a mix of characters as the two franchises merged into one, with Pig Patch and Happy Frog performing right alongside Fredbear and Bonnie. And as
did we see those animatronics in that room of the pig and the frog by any chance?
Happy Mr. Hippo fridge magnet?
That said,
okay,
all the characters were winners. The reception to some characters was just mediocre, so they faded away into the dumpster.
Oh, that is dark.
Budget tech stores of lost nostalgia, waiting for their chance to step back into the limelight.
Wow.
If they win a headliner, they would be able to support the Fredbear's Family Diner franchise all on their own, while also spinning off a new sister location dedicated to their friends. In 1983, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza launched, giving a dedicated home to all this
Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
Bunny, the Blue Bunny, Foxy the Pirate, and of course the headliner, a brown Freddy Fazbear.
The OG right there.
Was happy, most.
Oh, I know they was
bother him
rolling in money.
The one that he himself played, Golden Bonnie, got passed over for inclusion in that cartoon show. The only character in the roster of regulars to get ignored for the show, but other than
at least
that,
one of his character there.
He had a daughter, he had a thriving business, and best of all, he was able to learn the craft.
Life
of
looked like it was
robotics,
good.
utilizing a divided mouth with either a hinged or sliding jaw design. This was the first generation of animatronics. But why stop there? Afton had big ideas.
Oh, he wanted to go even bigger. He did not want to stop there.
Roam the restaurant and interact with the kids. What if his
said fuck that stage
and would give the animatronics fluidity and flexibility while still providing structure? The possibilities for this technology
was that the one
were endless.
they were trying to put
fell in
his
love
sister
with
in?
Robots. He had stumbled across the tools that gave him the ability to control life itself. And thanks to Henry, he was practically speedrunning his way to an engineering degree. And while William wouldn't admit
he wanted to learn right away.
Desire to beat his former rival, to prove himself smarter.
He would never let that shit go. I don't blame him, but damn.
Considered to be a visionary genius.
Really try to keep his enemy closer.
The tragedy was about to strike. Okay, so that brings us to the end of part 1 of the story. That said,
already? Okay, we still got about 8 minutes left.
Show, shall we? We know, based on the retro poster that was hidden in Security Breach, that at least at one point, Fredbear was an actual bear. And like I called out in that narrative segment, dancing bear shows bold. old. Best case scenario, if Afton's running the singing show when he's 18, that still puts him at nearly 70 when the first pizzeria opens.
Damn. Oh, that's
Family business that Afton then carried on to a new generation, or something that he saw as a kid and just wanted to recreate when he grew up. The Fredbear
this is all the speculation, the theories come in.
Some of the heartless serial killer and mad scientist that we know him as began as someone with good intentions and a love of entertaining kids. He wanted to bring things to life from the very beginning, a theme that recurs a lot for him.
Seemed like Afton was not that bad of a guy in the beginning.
Going back to is the design of Glitch Trap. It's a handcrafted suit. You can see the seams and everything. It even has 5 fingers for the performer's hands. It is very much
how nice
a spring trap suit. This is something much more rudimentary.
So that's a mascot, and the other one is an animatronic.
First, predating literally everything. It's also a suit that is very personal to Afton. He put his digital consciousness in that form. It's his personal avatar. It's the way that he sees himself. So the fact that he's choosing to lure kids and kill them in this particular suit actually says a lot about his emotional attachment to
you sick fuck.
Fredbear seems giving him a personal connection, and that's not all. In this whole franchise, only one set of characters have themselves 5 fingers, the Nightmares. Even
what the fuck?
Fredbear was a 5-fingered.
We saw that in the movie too, when he put up at the sister house and while the was there.
Like if they even are nightmares, something that we'll touch on in part 2, saw those mascot suits specifically. Lastly, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, the literal elephant, Orville Elephant, as well as the rest of the mediocre melody.
I wonder why he was so poorly received.
Medium role in the story than just being a bunch more animatronics to fill out the roster, especially Ned Bear, which is just so suspiciously close to Fredbear. And yet there are 2
such
key
a rip off,
that we're gonna have to implying that they come very early in the timeline. And 2, we know that at minimum, Mr. Hippo does eventually become an official member of the extended Freddyverse. But if these things are supposed
like
to
3rd or 4th game,
you would be stealing someone else's ideas. So if Afton created Fredbear, there would have to be some rival franchise. The only other person who would likely be ripping him off, Henry. Seems like the recently released character encyclopedia has backed up all of this speculation. I've had this timeline written for about a month now, but all this
actually happened.
Really, the only way that you get Mr. Hippo from the rival franchise as part of the Fazbear crew. This also mirrors a lot of what happened in the real-life history of Chuck E. Cheese, with 2 rival restaurants, each with their own casts of characters merging to become one unified brand.
What? I know that.
The restaurant is being named Chica's Party World. Few things actually. First, we know for a fact that a location named Chica's Party World exists. It is mentioned in the source code teasing sister location, so it is out there.
Oh, they went deep into the sister for that.
And Ned Bear, implying that she started as a mediocre melody. Thirdly, her design just fits better with a theme of down-home country animals with southern accents playing the banjo and eating with bibs. And with her being the headliner of the show with her name on the flash, it's also why when Freddy's closes after William's killing spree, she's the one to branch back off into her old franchise and is therefore missing in sister location, a detail that's bothered me for years at this point. It might also explain why William decided to stuff his first dead kid into Chica. That one was inspiration. Is all of this a big leap? Yeah. Is it connecting a lot of dots that are very spread out across the franchise that I've been holding on in the back of my mind for years? Absolutely. But
you are confusing me.
That's been leaving dangling for years. So with all of that in mind, my friends, we can close the book on the foundation of Freddy's. And don't worry, next week I'll be back to give you arguably one of the most confusing parts of this entire timeline situation.
What? No, bro. I already thought this one
actually be next week this time. No more.
I thought this one was already kind of confusing. Now my brain is about to be fried.
But there just isn't that much in the games that helps us depict anything pre-Family Diner. Although, let's be honest, this franchise has never been just about the games anyway. Even back in the early days of
That's what I thought.
In game, I hope that this start to the timeline helps to fill in some of those gaps. I'm excited to share part 2 with you next week.
I'm about to cry, bro, because my brain. I know it's not gonna be ready for this part 2 right now. Okay, I feel like I'm semi-locked in to go to this part 2, the rise of Afton. Let's get it. Let my brain get smushed. Shit about to be smooth as hell after this.
We talked about William Afton's childhood dream project of making a singing bear.
Billy.
Life-creating moment that his dream is copied by a rival restaurant franchise looking to steal away his
That's still so insane that he did not create Chica.
Working together, they make Fredbear's flourish, spawning popular Saturday morning cartoon shows, toy lines, and spin-off restaurants under the Fazbear
like,
name.
I swear there was rolling in
Afton
dough.
Exciting ways of bringing characters to life. Bringing things to life. Yeah, that was his core driving force, his passion. And it was this very passion that would mutate, twist, and morph from here on out in the story. Because with life, there's inevitably death. something that Afton would become intimately familiar with. But
Time to
before
dive into
Afton
this
acquaints
sick-ass
himself
nigga
with death,
mind.
I want onward to part 2, where things are about to get dark in a hurry.
I gotta strap up again, bro. Double strap.
1983, business was booming with 2 whole
Now we're in the
restaurant
1980s.
franchises running. Fredbear's Family Diner
And he's
and the
about
newly opened Freddy
in his
Fazbear's
40s
Pizza.
now?
Together, William and Henry had been able to take the
40s or
hybrid
50s?
suit idea and make it into a reality. They called their new invention the spring lock suit, and fittingly enough, it was
The
symbolic
spring
of
lock suit, that's
partnership
what-
between
that's
these two
what we
men, a
saw.
human suit as designed by William that could become a freestanding.
Why you look like
Henry-style
Markiplier?
robot. But because it was still new, restricted only to the Fredbear's Family Diner location. All of this meant that William was busier than ever. He didn't have time to be a full-time parent, so he designed a nanny cam system where cameras and speakers were hidden throughout the neighborhood, as well as in his youngest son's favorite toy, Psychic Friend Fredbear. I mean, plushy Fredbear. But since cameras just weren't enough to raise a kid, he also left childcare duties to his eldest son, Michael. There was just one problem
on,
with
man.
that.
You gotta be a
Michael
father
was
to your
far from the
children.
best baby. Tormented his younger brother by jump scaring him with a foxy mask and constantly
You
left him
ain't
behind.
shit.
William watched all of his would-be kids. Tomorrow was another day, after all. Except Michael's torment didn't stop. Bitter, angry thoughts would run through Michael's mind. Why did
Damn.
he have to be the one to take care of this whining crybaby all the time?
Michael.
It just wasn't fair. It was time that he got even with his brother by
Ain't
playing
that-
the ultimate prank. A
that
prank
dude
just so
name
happened
in the
to be
movie
he was
too?
terrified of doing, getting close to the animatronics. That would be embarrassing for the kid that was such an embarrassment to him. His brother squirmed, screamed, kicked, and fought, but just as they were putting that small squirming toy up to Fredbear's lips, the mouth snapped shut. The sensitive spring locks inside the body had been triggered by the boy's movements, and they'd immediately clamped down. The
Oh
wriggling
my
stopped.
God.
William limp, but it was just a prank. It was meant to be funny. The boy was taken to the
Killed his
hospital and
own
was
brother?
immediately given it flowers and pills filled the nightstand next to his hospital
Okay, he's
bed.
still
The damage was
alive.
too severe. He couldn't
Ish.
recover. As the younger brother's
But not too
consciousness began to
long.
fade, he could hear Michael's last words, a small and flimsy apology. But his
Man,
father
take that
William
bullshit as
threw the
apology
boy to the
somewhere.
Fredbear and committed promise to a dying son. You're broken. I will put you back together. This would not be the end. No matter what, William's son
this is
would
about to
again
get so
just take time.
dark.
Time that didn't have. His young son's heart flatlined as the boy faded into the inky unknown of the afterlife. In the aftermath
Oh
of the tragedy,
my
changes started happening
gosh.
around the red bands to prevent anyone from getting outside without parental permission. Any kid who approached the exit without permission would have to answer to the security puppet.
Okay.
Marionette slings that could fly around on
Like a
rails
police-
across kids
straight up
and
a
their
police
tracks.
puppet.
Failure, all the hybrid suits were getting retired, locked away at the nearby Freddy Fazbear location. It was yet another tough pill to swallow after all the hard work that he and Henry had put into
Hard
it.
pill to
William would
swallow.
eventually
Gotta
bury the
put all
boy's
that in the
small body
storage.
remote and out of work every day. The death of this little boy sent the family spiraling. His wife, crippled with grief, was so distraught that all she could do was sit and watch TV. But his son Michael was far worse.
That
Complaining
is
of seeing
so
hallucinations of the golden
sad.
bear. The boy was so racked with guilt that he was convinced that he was being haunted by the ghost of his brother stuck inside the suit that took his life. The suit's three-toed feet dig
I mean,
into
yeah,
the
that guilt
bedrock.
gonna eat him
The words,
alive. I
"It's
mean, he
me,"
killed his own
ringing through
brother,
Michael's
dude.
ears. He even goes so far as to break out of his room to check the gravesite and ensure that his brother was still there. As for William himself, he
Wow.
disappeared into his work.
That shit
and
was
his
whooping his
brains. Junior
ass.
is the local site. He found himself going there more and more frequently, spending longer and longer amounts of time there. The bar gave him a place
Got
to
hella wasted.
his idea for an animal-themed restaurant. How they'd cut his character out of the cartoon when everyone else was there. How Henry had humiliated him by buying him out of bankruptcy. And now...
Yeah,
Henry
that
his
was
son. Henry
kind
had
of
taken
too
his son
disrespectful.
from robotic
Say, hey, nigga, I know you just bankrupting. Here you go.
William ordered one too many. The bar turned him out and told him to go home. But William didn't go home. Drunk,
You sure he was
angry, William raced
good
back
enough to
the
drive
restaurant
home?
Give Henry a piece of his mind.
Oh.
Only to find someone else waiting. Henry's daughter, Charlie, locked outside of the building. Bullies laughing at her through the window. Fine. Some
I didn't
other
know he had a
follow-up to
daughter.
fit and got an idea. A beautifully awful idea. This was his
Beautiful
chance to get back at
awful?
the man that had humiliated him all those years ago.
Nah.
Henry had killed his business. Now Henry's robotic suit had killed his son. It was time for William to do some killing of his own. Let Henry feel what it's like to have something new. While parties continued inside the walls of the pizzeria, William attacked Charlie in the back alley. It felt good. He felt free. The years
You
of
are
resentment and bitterness
sick.
released in a moment of pure unapologetic evil. He would make Henry hurt like he hurts.
Hell no, I need to pause right quick. I need to pause right quick and gather my thoughts.
moment.
See, In my mind, I was thinking he was gonna fuck with his animatronics and stuff like that. But bro, killed his whole daughter. And then on top of that said he felt so, then on top of that said it felt so good. Oh my, what am I getting into, you guys? What am I getting into? What am I getting into?
Dropped Charlie's lifeless body and drove home, forced to confront his family problems later that night, appalled but also a little excited by what Charlie remained on the books as a random act of violence. And though Henry had suspicions about William, there was no physical evidence, nothing that could link him back to the crime. In the weeks that
So he
followed,
kinda
Fredbear's family
was
diner
piecing that
would
shit
close
together
for
a little
good.
bit.
High restaurant with 2 grieving owners in such a short period of time was just too much bad press to handle. Besides, Freddy Fazbear's was still
that seemed
open,
like
and it was the
the
newer
best
restaurant
option.
anyway, including the old yellow suits and security puppet would get retired to that location, and there they would sit for 2 uneventful years. The rest of 1983
Yeah,
and
don't seem like-
1984 were
seem-
spent
don't seem that
quietly
long.
grieving hits. Tragic memories of their yellow predecessors quickly faded. Afton kept a low profile and buried himself in work and research, quickly reaching Henry's level of engineering and even surpassing him. And while Henry
Wow,
slowed down
that's-
to grieve, Afton kept going, even starting his own company. Afton
He did not
Robotics, all those
stop.
pet projects that were a little bit too experimental for the regular operation.
He said he
of the
got,
pizzeria. The
we
first
got more
of these
smarter than
experimental
Henry.
projects was a secret
Started
workshop
before.
under- which allowed him to work while still monitoring his kids via hidden security cameras. 1983. A passcode that served as a constant reminder.
1983?
of life. This was all to fulfill the promise that he had made to his son, right? I will put you back together. This was for him. All for him.
He was not
right?
playing
The cameras
when he
weren't
said
enough.
that.
You see, all this work with Henry had gotten Afton to start learning more about life, robots, the human mind, and what a fallible machine we as humans were. Our reality is so easy to
got so
manipulate with
psycho.
sensory deceptions. Deceptions
Is
like
so
sound.
obsessed
With
with
just a
all
few
of
sounds,
this.
He had discovered a person's vision. He could transform blank, smooth plastic robots into lumbering, twisted nightmares.
Hell
Nightmares
nah.
far scarier materials. They would appear organic, rotting, putrid, terrifying. These would be his means of keeping his son Michael in the house where he belonged. Was it extreme? Maybe. But then again,
Way
this
too
was the
extreme.
boy
What you
who
talking
killed
about?
his
Maybe.
roommates. Memories of his own guilt, the hospital room, the pills, the flowers, the death of his brother, but also facing literal nightmares, illusions created by sound. Michael would
I'm
never forget
surprised
these
he
either.
ain't-
Years later, as a security
Oh
guard, he would
my
still
God,
draw
how was
pictures
he
of
able
them
to go through
inside
all
of
of
his
this?
logbook, but her and a non-existent husband, leaving his wife cold and alone.
Why do you hide inside your walls?
No, I cannot hear this at night. I'm so glad I did not watch this at night. That would have been too creepy to hear.
Empty tomb.
And despite her repeated demands that he leave his office and leave.
You burned down my house?
You call that a house? It was like a morgue in there. You need to see your son.
The baby isn't mine.
Well, how's this? I'm keeping
That's
the
how
diamond
after
ring.
And
after
through it all,
feeling.
there was feeling. William wasn't done. He had gotten a taste of what it felt like to be unleashed, what it felt like to be free. Charlie's murder had unlocked something in him, and he wanted more.
His
June
own
26th,
child death unlocked
1985,
something
putting
good
on a
in him?
golden
That
army
is-
suit, he lured
that's not
children one
good.
by one room of the pizzeria when no one was looking. At first, he was cautious. He would lure them with promises of cake and cookies. He told them that their
What?
dog could help with homework. Susie was the first. You never truly forget your first.
That sounded wrong
Where to
on
hide the
all
body.
types
He
of
couldn't
levels.
Sneak out, someone would see him. He had to hide them in a place where they'd never be
Hid them
found,
inside the
and where they'd never leave
animatronics.
the building. They had to be
Somewhere they were nowhere
stuffed inside
nobody would check.
suits. No one maintained those things anyway.
Oh.
And so Susie would go into Chica. Fritz, Jeremy, and Gabriel would come next, but it was easy. It was too easy. And with each little life he snuffed out, his lies got bigger. Their house was burning. They're just being kidnapped. Until the last one where all pretense was off. He let himself get violent. Too violent.
I'll just wait for him after school.
And he wasn't caught?
Hit him with a shovel and drag him into the back of my car.
The body of Cassidy was far more bloody and broken than any of the others. He let himself shouldn't have killed. With no more active animatronics left, he shoved the body into the one suit that remained backstage. The long-forgotten yellow Fredbear, now broken. and
That's the
discolored
name.
with age. Newspapers reported on this disappearance, naming the whole thing the missing children's incident. Police would even charge William with the crimes after finding security footage of the golden mascot suit luring kids to the back. But they couldn't convict. Had no bodies, and his face had been hidden behind the mascot suit the entire time. What they
So they actually
had
caught him
was
on camera, but
circumstantial at
had no
best. So he
evidence
walked
of the
away
bodies.
a free man. But Henry knew the truth.
He was
These
so
murders, He
close.
saw his daughter over again. So he threw Afton out of the company and shuttered the doors to the old pizzeria. Henry would keep the franchise quiet for
got
this
your
would
ass
not
shut
happen again. This
down.
could kids. Finally, he developed a solution. He would implement an even more extreme security system in the form of new animatronics, toy animatronics, inspired by the toys
Toy
that they had been selling
animatronics.
years. These guys, these were special. They were a new breed of robot with facial recognition abilities.
They look hella modern.
The year was 1987, and the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza was making headlines in local newspapers. Headlines that just so happened to catch the attention of William Afton.
Of course,
Freddy's
gonna
was
catch his
back
attention.
Without him? That was his idea, his character.
furious.
Henry was, yet again, trying to cut him out of the picture. No. As long
I
as these
mean,
restaurants stayed open,
you're fucking
William
sick.
would all apply at the bottom of the article. $100 a week to apply call. Afton would go back, not as an owner or co-founder. He would go back in the one place that they would least suspect him, a lowly
His
day
lair?
shift security guard. And there it was, buried in the back of parts and service and rabbits. With the yellow security badge still on his chest, he used his crank to pull open the spring locks. It was time for Bonnie to give an encore performance.
Yo, Bonnie was here. So when he went there as a security guard, did Henry not recognize him?
1987, 5 more kids. He didn't know what felt better.
5
getting back
more
on the suit
kids.
after
He
2
ain't
long
stopped.
years of waiting this would be to Henry the next morning. He didn't even try to hide his crime this time. Just meant more blood on Henry's hands. He failed to protect the kids again. The restaurant had only
So
been
he
open
went
for a
on a
few
killing
weeks, so
spree while he
William
was in a-
sure that this would get it to close. Good. If he couldn't have Freddy's, no one would.
Oh, so
Whenever
that's
a new
his way of
pizzeria
closing
opened,
down
he would
his
be there. But as he
former
sat in his
partner
bunkers, something else started to
business.
linger and puppet. It was almost like those old robots were trying to save the kids. Save them? They couldn't, obviously, but still, how were they moving? It was almost like they had been given life somehow. Did he have something to do with that? The following
How
day,
was
the news
William
would report
able
a security
to
guard getting bitten
achieve
by
that?
one of the animatronics during the day shift. Was that bite meant for him?
Bit?
William's curiosity to learn more, but how? There was no way he'd ever be able to get inside another Freddy's pizzeria. Heck, there was practically no way a Freddy's would ever open again. He needed to create something new, something brand new. He needed to create his own pizzeria.
Due to the massive success, and
What
even
was he
more so than
cooking?
Unfortunate Pizza, it was clear that the stage was set, no pun intended, for another contender in children's entertainment.
Circus Baby's Pizza World. This
Circus
would
Baby's
be
Pizza
the place where he
World.
could ordering, experimenting. He needed more kids, and he needed them alive. And knowing that he couldn't show his face on the restaurant floor, he needed a way of remotely capturing his victim. With that goal in mind, he designed a new breed of animatronic. Their endoskeletons fluid and filled with sound lures that could mimic voices. They could isolate children. They could incapacitate and contain them with zero direct input from him. It was brilliant. He was brilliant. Barnyard bird. Instead, it was back to his characters, his creations, Freddy, Bonnie, Foxy, as well as 2 special ones. The first, Ballora, was an homage to the woman who left him. Now she would never leave him again. The second, the titular baby,
that
was
is
designed
dark
with his
as
baby
fuck.
in mind, that obeyed until the day that she didn't.
Daddy, why won't you let me play with her? She's so pretty and shiny. Didn't you make her just for me?
Holy
The day
shit.
Pizza World opened, she disobeyed. She didn't listen. Left alone with Baby, she got too close. The animatronic ripped in half and swallowed her whole.
What?
Confused darkness. By the time Afton found her, it was too late. She was gone. He immediately canceled the launch of Circus Babies under the guise of a gas leak. But wait, as he sat there at the foot of the stage,
Nice
he noticed
cover
that
up.
the color of the robot had changed. Baby had been built with blue eyes, but now they were emerald green, the same color as Elizabeth's, which she'd seen at Freddy's. He had to know more. His mourning turned to excitement. He had to return to where it all started. 1993. Pathetic. This place. Henry had
1993.
clearly one final time with those old original animatronics from so long ago, but William's damage to the brand had been permanent. These things,
Damn.
and they had nothing could wash away the stink of murder that haunted these halls. One night, then another.
It was
then
worth the
another.
try.
William repeated to lure the living animatronics to him, one by one dismantling them, robbing them of their endoskeletons. The metal had to be the secret.
That
It had to
payback
contain
was
the remnants of life itself.
insane.
But invisible to the animatronics programming, he dragged the oversized robotic skeletons back to his underground workshop, back to where Circus Baby watched on with glowing, curious eyes. Eyes that somehow felt alive. Not knowing what to do, William goo. Could he transfer this living metal to his own creations? He had to try. He picked up a syringe and filled it with the molten metal and injected the goo into Funtime Freddy's twisted, wiry endoskeleton. And suddenly the coils came to life. Like
What?
writhing in a
So it was
pile of what
all
once
in the
been
metal?
lifeless secret to life itself. Except something was clearly wrong. The movements were erratic. They were violent, angry. Baby didn't act
Pissed
this way.
off.
She had been calm, collected. This was clearly something else. Something mindless and frantic.
So it looked like he got a couple of kinks to work out still.
He needed more of this remnant. As he searched the old pizzeria one more time for any remaining scraps of metal, the ghosts attacked. His past victims come to collect their due, all led by Cassidy. The
Oh no,
five
his
lined
ass
up
was
at the locked
frightened.
door. Real ghosts that he could see, all standing against him. But what could they do? What couldn't they do? He panicked as Cassidy approached. How do you stop something that's already dead? Maybe with the thing that resulted in their death.
It's catching up to you now.
He would regain his power over them just like the day that they died. He was the genius. He was the one in the suit. He was the one in charge.
Yellow Bunny is the one in charge of everything.
Coming to collect its due. He didn't know. The only thing he did know was that his brain was suddenly filled with searing white-hot pain as hundreds of metallic pins and gears stabbed into his body from all sides. All he could do was collapse, blood slowly oozing out of the suit and pooling onto the floor.
Is that what you gotta talk about? Spring Lock failure?
Unable to move, his only option was to survive, to live, to keep living. It took days lying in his own blood, but eventually
days.
found him. The security guard making a the animatronics torn apart in the middle of the party room floor. It caused him to file an immediate report of a break-in. An owner would have to come in and claim the damage. And who else would it be other
Henry.
than Henry, after all. He would be the one to help save him, to get him out of this suit, to relieve him from this tremendous pain. Henry entered the secret room.
He was in a lot of pain for a couple of days. He deserved that.
Henry, saying nothing, turned and walked away.
Oh.
And so there Afton would sit, hanging on for 30 years.
30?
Walls with an iron part. I say this part because it's not officially the end of the Afton era just yet, but this just felt like a really solid stopping point. The episode is gone.
I'm not gonna lie. That shit was wild. That shit was kind of wild. Yo.
There are two location, or more specifically, Elizabeth's death. To me, evidence in games.
Please explain more of that.
Psychic friend Fredbear, aka William Afton, speaking through a walkie-talkie in the Fredbear plushie's stomach. But what did he see? Well, I think we can tell based on how the nightmare animatronics are visualized. They have mouths
so creepy to look at.
Stomach. He needs his kids to stay away from the animatronics. He doesn't want them getting too close because the last time one of his kids got too close to a robot, his daughter died. That's then why he sets up the nightmare.
Bro, I gonna see a kid die.
His daughter was taken away from him, so Charlie should die as well. He's lashing out at the world after losing his kids. And again, we know that at least one of his children
irresponsible
had to have
father.
died. Why would Afton be building an animatronic with a giant claw in its stomach so early in the timeline? At this point, he just has no motive. It just doesn't make sense prior to 1983. At this point in the story, he hasn't is also a bit tricky. We know that he returned to the FNAF 1 location to break down the original animatronics in order to harvest their remnant. We know that he melts down
failed.
5 things to pizzeria. Afton gets spring locked. So either the 5 becoming 1 starts in 1993, but then finishes 30 years later when he reemerges from the wall to add the last endoskeleton to his pile, or he's had himself some reason to return to the original location after harvesting all the stuff that he can. It's not ideal, but it's the one angle that makes the most sense. And with that, this next chapter comes to a close, thereby leaving us with 5 more.
It wasn't that complicated. This part wasn't that complicated to follow. Just a little bit though. I didn't really pick up that was his daughter in the beginning. Wow, what a freaking video and journey I went on just now. And I see here that we got 2 more parts, but sadly I do not have time today to record this. I will try to make time next week to record the next 2 parts. If you guys get this video to 500 likes again, I will try my best and fastest to get this out as soon as possible, because I definitely want to dive deeper into this lore, because oh, this shit is insane. I didn't know Afton was this type of dude. Like, I knew he was kind of sick from the movie, but damn, I didn't know he was this sick. Anyways, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.